Good morning, everybody. This is the day the Lord has made. We rejoice and we are glad in it. It has been a long week, and America is in a defining moment. On Thursday of this week, there will be a transfer of power. I'm grateful for all of you. Every Sunday morning, I meet you in this exact same space, getting ready for worship service. I'm preaching a sermon today called I Thought Somebody Said Something. Amazingly, the most critical, defining arsenal of warfare was unleashed this week against the president. Not by the Congress or the Senate, but by social media. Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram have all silenced the account of Donald Trump. It comes on the other end of the uprising attempt to siege the Capitol on January the 6th. As a consequence, he has been unable to communicate with his supporters, and they have found themselves going from trombones to clarinets because they cannot hear the voice of their leader. When they were called upon to be dispersed, there were cries from the maddening crowd that said we were invited to be here. And of course, in typical sociopathic fashion, Donald Trump hit his hand and said he's done nothing wrong. I need you to hear it from a much larger perspective, and I hope you'll receive it this morning. Can you imagine that today God is silencing the enemies of your assignment? He's silencing the enemies of your destiny and the enemies of your oil. Donald Trump is conflicted, confused, and dizzied because he has no way to communicate with his mass. And that's the kind of authority that you now have over the adversary, that he can't even say anything. I want to push the envelope a step further, that today you're going to have to silence, hear this, the voice in your head. The most influential voice in your life is the voice you hear in your head. And so many of us are saboteurs of self-sabotage because we keep talking ourselves out of what we're called to and second guessing what we're supposed to believe. On this Sunday, we are honoring the life and the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., who was so critical because he knew how to use his voice. The FBI, under the directive of J. Edgar Hoover, made up in his mind that the most threatening man to the culture of America was in fact Martin Luther King Jr. It wasn't necessarily his life they wanted to stop. It was his voice they wanted to silence. To that end, I need you to see the radical revolutionary act of Jesus Christ on the cross. That while Jesus was on the cross, he in fact refused to be silent. Can you imagine? Anguished in the agony of pain and still talking smack. From the cross, saying, today you'll be with me in paradise. From the cross, into my Father's hands, I commend my spirit. From the cross, which is going to be your marching orders for 2021, it is finished. Today, you got to hear this message. I thought somebody said something. Those of us who are, in fact, citizens of hip-hop culture, we know it as an axiom expression. But today, when it is that you declare, I thought somebody said something, that's what you got to say to yourself. You have got to talk yourself into believing what God told you. I got to say that again. You got to talk yourself into believing what God told you. It's easy to hear it when you're in church, But can you remind yourself of it when you're driving in the car? Will you remind yourself when the debit card is marked insufficient funds? Will you remind yourself when the doctor has bad news? Will you remind yourself when it is that you almost convince yourself that you are not deserving of love, affection, and here it is, a relationship that is actually meaningful? I thought somebody said something. Today I'm dealing with the Tower of Babel, that God had to stop the construction because they were talking so much that they stopped listening to him. I want you to come into our service today on this Martin Luther King celebration service. I got something to say. And everything that I'm saying, I'm going to want you to repeat to yourself, to remind yourself, if God be for me, who can be against me? I'll meet you in worship in just a minute.